This is Past the Rough.
It's me having no rhythm with the finger buttons. We are back. It's time to do a little two-parter in the second quarter. Kind of a three-parter, but whatever. Um, so here we're going to hit a few local notes. Um, the most notable local story in sports right now, I would say, is the Stars relieving Pete DeBoer of his duties as the head coach of the hockey club.
Mhm.
We thought this might be a possibility at least last week.
It felt pretty likely, right? Scapegoat.
Because there was only 1 year left on the contract, that felt like maybe it's like, well, you know, there's no one else that's just absolutely we know is going to do a better job. So, but if he lost the room, it kind of sounds like then he lost the room, and it's time to move on and do something different. Now the questions come down to the roster, um, which we touched on a bit last week already. Uh, but yeah, that's kind of the big news in hockey this week for non-cup participants.
Yeah, I guess my only question is now that we've had about I guess a little under a week to process this news, right? It was the end of the week. I think they dumped it like on Friday morning or some shit.
Yeah, it would have been basically the day after the Jim Nill GM and Tom Gagliardi owner meeting.
Yeah, so I mean, I guess my question is, have you heard anyone at least start to speculate where they're headed?
They every name possible is being thrown out. It's
That's good.
interesting because hockey, like most of these other sports, is a baseball doesn't seem to suffer from this as much. Some teams still do it, but you don't get as many retread coaches that are like
That's fair.
old.
Yeah, baseball is more willing to try. It feels
These,
like
yeah, and I think, yeah, I
it
couldn't
might
say.
be team based though, because I love Ron Washington, but it's still funny to me that he's just somebody's guy.
Well, he's really. I mean, everyone loves him, and he's
But
doing. I mean, look at how the Angels are doing right now. You know,
and like I said, it's about what can you do. It's about the job, right? Because in baseball, you can get hired to win championships. Some places, in some places, you're getting hired to do whatever you can with what you got.
yeah, you got to give out the hat, and it's not always going to go to the guy with the best stats, says Chris Woodward.
Yeah,
Uh,
that's fair.
look, uh, so yeah, there's possible names. A lot of people want to see the AHL coach brought up. That's the minor league team,
Hmm.
who also just lost in their own conference finals. Um, I think
Too
even if he
soon.
did come up, he wouldn't be the head coach. I think he'd be an assistant, just because of how tradition seems to work in hockey.
Yeah.
Although there is the coach at University of Denver who's a hot name, which would be funny because that's kind of how we got Jim Montgomery back in the day. Um,
I
but yeah,
mean,
I mean,
figure it
there's
out,
names
right?
out there. I don't know that there's any right answer in particular. Um,
Well,
you just got to
typically,
find
in
someone who can get those players to play.
yeah, and typically, this is the point in the sports franchise mode where if the coach fix doesn't happen, then you can hit the button.
Yeah, and there's all obviously still the lingering question of if Jamie Benn will return, um, and at what price. I'd love it to be about 1 million or less. I don't know if he would do it, but I hope that he's smart enough to be like, I don't need to be, I don't need the money right now. You know, if I
Well,
really want to win, this is not the time to ask for the money.
and this is one of those few times where I think it is fair to bring up the Texas argument, just because where we're at in the situation with him is this isn't just first year here, couple years here kind of deal. Like
No,
my
it's his
guy's
whole
set up
career.
life
He's the
and
captain. He's married now.
yeah.
Um, Probably having a kid. I think him and Tyler Sagan either both expected around the same time or they both already had children. I kind of lose track because I don't really follow that thing, but they both grown up here. Um,
Yeah.
but it's pro sports. Most people aren't going to take less than they think they're worth. It's a whole thing.
And they shouldn't. But the worth
that's
here.
that's the downside of the cap. But yeah, the worth here is different, and he's got to be a permanent fourth liner at this point.
Well, and I think guys know, hey, especially in that situation, it's like Do I uproot my family? Do I uproot my life? How much is that worth to me? Is it really offset that
Yeah,
much
the only other
by
place
the
I could
other
see him
thing?
going to play would be Toronto just to go home, but
Okay, no, that's
they don't
actually the
really
fair one.
have a need.
No, but they need to win a fucking, something. I don't know that he's the guy for it, but I could
Yeah,
see where they could
there's
logically
no
be
way Jamie Benn going to get $3 million to play there is helping them win anything.
the. So,
So it's just a weird situation. It'll be really sad to have to potentially see another captain come through here without getting any real hardware. I mean, he won an Art Ross trophy, but that's it.
yeah,
Um,
I mean, that's why I also think the unfinished business aspect of this helps the team. There's a lot of things that help the team in this situation. So I wouldn't be surprised if they are able to bring him back.
but the big rumors spreading in Stars World this week are the potential for a trade of Jason Robertson. Um,
Yeah, I had seen some of that. Yeah.
just for mainly money reasons, which is I think NILL is going to work his way around it. The issue being Robertson is a restricted free agent at the end of next season, um, so you got to assume he's going to command something pretty decent on the open market. I don't exactly know how the NHL's restricted free agency works, but we would basically, I would assume, have to match something. So
Yeah, I mean that's pretty much the bitch of it. Even if it is still giving you the control, you're usually going to have to go up a number you may not want
and
to.
who knows? Maybe that works out in some kind of like sign and trade or something. Um, but I don't think they're gonna move him unless something really, unless you get an offer that you're like, well, this has to be done. Part of that is because of we already did re-sign Rantanen when we traded for him this year.
Hmm.
We're paying Tyler Sagan a lot of money still next year. I think it's still like 12 million, maybe it's 9, but either way, it's too much for unfortunately a guy who's awesome and I love him. And whenever he's healthy, he can do a lot of good stuff, but he can't. Uh, he probably isn't going to play a full season ever again.
Yeah, I mean that matters, and I don't know how much the NHL has shifted. There was recently, who was it? It's one of the bigger names. I think it was Presti, the GM of the Thunder right now. Basically, was like if you can't go 10 deep in the regular season, you're just not gonna. You just don't got a shot to even really contend for the playoffs. And we've known this for a couple seasons now. I think the Lakers have been a great case study for this overall. If you just watch how the LeBron Lakers have tried to
I was gonna say,
barely.
yeah, most Cleveland LeBron teams as well.
Exactly right. It's a very common trend of LeBron teams to try to milk what they can out of things, right? And get and sneak by the. But it's been much more difficult for teams to use this formula. Even though I agree with the logic, and especially when it used to be used, where you don't need the full best of yourself in the regular season, you just need the best players you can get on your team for that year. But at the end of the day, I think it's been harder for teams to actually even get to a playoff spot because of this. So I wonder if the NHL has also gotten to a point where you have to almost prioritize your depth more than your top end.
I would say no. At least, I mean, with the last 2 years as an example, with Edmonton winning the West, it's not that they're not deep, but having two of the five best players in the world is doing a lot for them.
Yeah.
Um,
No, I mean, I still think it matters. It's just this year is a weird year for basketball to make that theory, but I still think ultimately, once you nitpick the players, there's still
I
two
think,
really
yeah,
good, talented players
and
on
maybe
each
that
team.
is and if Edmonton doesn't win it again this year, then Florida's probably the proof of what you're saying in that
Yeah,
you need a solid top end, but you do need a depth.
your
Like
depth.
in baseball, you need depth to get through the regular season. Once you hit the playoffs, if you have a good rotation, that's
Hey, you
it.
still need Leotis Tavares hitting a home run randomly. You still need
Yeah, I mean you need
what's his bitch ass
you need Evan Carter doing
Garver.
random things.
Yeah, you need
Mitch
Mitch
Garver
Garver.
shaving numbers in his ass. Yeah. Um, but we'll do because you kind of gave me an opportunity for a segue here. We'll do a quick transition to a team that tried to get by on one player and almost got away with it in the Texas Tech Red Raiders women's softball team. Um, They just played Texas in a best of 3. Texas ends up winning his first ever softball title. That's all cool, but I thought there were some interesting things here. Tech, obviously, with OU and Texas leaving the Big 12, saw an opportunity, and they spent a bunch of money on NIL, and they got in a bunch of good players, and they crushed the Big 12, got themselves into the tournament, crushed their way to the final. That's pretty cool.
That's pretty interesting.
They found a spot they could take advantage of, and they did. A lot of it is Kennedy, I think is her name. I think that's how you pronounce it.
I've heard a little bit.
Pitcher.
Yeah.
She started all 3 games of the final. I hate that the whole tournament's called the World Series because I don't know what to call the final.
Yeah, no, it
they
is
do that
strange.
in baseball too, and it ruins my brain. But she was incredible in both the first 2 games. The only reason Texas wins game 1 is because she's such a good pitcher, apparently, that she's never... I don't know if she's never intentionally walked anyone, but all of her attempts at an intentional walk were over the plate. The first 3 were high enough to be balls, and then the 4th one, Texas hitter just crushed for a single into the outfield.
It's tough.
If you're going to intentionally walk, I don't know why you're not throwing outside, soft pitch outside, but
Yeah, I don't know what the softball underhand version is, right? Because like for the guys, it was always very simple. It is exactly what you're talking about, but is it the same? You just put a little floater?
You don't want to throw it so slow that they're going to get a steal on you, but you're intentionally walking to set up a double play.
That's true. I didn't think about
next batter.
You can't just lob it because then it would be a steal attempt easily, right?
Maybe it's hard to steal in softball. You can't leave until they let go of the ball.
But it's a lob, you know what I mean? Like you gotta in that way you're really lobbing it.
Even still, just don't aim it over the plate.
Yeah, that's fair.
So that's how they ended up losing game 1, despite the fact that she was incredible. Game 2, kind of a similar story. Tech got some runs, Texas came back, and then Tech took it over at the end. And then game 3, she was out of gas, and Texas kind of lit her up a little bit. They almost run ruled Tech to win a title. They didn't quite get there, but the run rule warning came into play, which is funny to hear about in a final game. Yes, that was very nice.
Yeah, no, that's amazing. Actually, I didn't know they almost run ruled. I saw that Texas Tech tied the series, but that was the first I even realized it was happening. If I'm being honest, that's how casual I was.
I
did hear about the Tech thing though. I didn't think about it and put it together until you just said that, but I had been seeing things about Tech spending.
Well, that pitcher made $1 million from NIL this year.
Yeah, I remember seeing that.
To play college softball is an incredible amount of money.
And now the schools can pay you up to $20 million if they see fit.
She's still only going to make 1 next year in her last year. There is a new professional softball league that they were definitely promoting heavy.
Nice.
I might watch it. I don't know. It's a fun game. I do like baseball better. It's a bigger sport, but I kind of enjoy the speed of softball.
Well, if I can say anything about the difference between the 2 leagues with basketball, it's 2 different versions of basketball. So if you're a diehard basketball fan, my pitch to you is pretty simple. Get back to the basics. Watch the girls. They actually play the game. They play the strategic game of basketball. They're also a little more. They're spicy. But unfortunately, the NBA is so athletic. It takes the athletics of the players to the most extreme, basically. And it creates a very visually stunning game. And when it gets to the final level, you get to see some incredible basketball. I think the greatest effort, right? No matter what.
Sometimes, but then there is a feeling that and this is something baseball is fighting against, is the true outcome type stuff. It makes more sense for us to run down there and chuck up more threes than to set up a play.
Yeah, to some extent. I think we're going to see variations of that because ultimately, once you get into the study of the 3-ball,
I hate to be like an anti-analytics guy. I'm just saying use the data to make decisions, but don't.
Well, I think we're turning against it. It's just Boston
simulation.
Boston definitely took it the furthest we've seen last year. I think the Thunder are a much more grounded version of analytic basketball. I think they actually give you a lot of the mix. And the Pacers are fun as hell. I mean, Pacers are
obviously,
blast, but they do shoot a lot of threes.
If the guys are hitting the shots, it's a lot more fun to watch. It's just when all of a sudden all these threes are missed, it looks like a gross game.
The NBA should be transition. Transition should be the most fun. I think the one thing I would love to see is less 3-pointers on transitions is probably the biggest thing that would take away from the eyesore. Dunk, bruh. Do a fun layup. I don't care.
Driving the lane is the most exciting thing. Like, threes are really cool, and obviously
it makes sense, especially if you're good. I get it. But we're showmen.
Yeah, I'm gonna say you drive the lane to get an and one. You don't think the crowd's gonna pop for that
It's the same reason why a dude's got a bat flip. You know what I mean? So that would be my pitch, is at least as far as how the difference is you just got to find these differences with baseball and softball that are subtly different to where it does bring a little spice to the version of the game that you enjoy so much. You know, it's a little bit different. I would hate for the WNBA and the NBA to be the same league, because then it would not be fun. I think it's very enjoyable to have two different brands of basketball represented.
I don't know. I think it'd be fun to get some 7'4" women out there and watch them.
I mean, we already have this issue. It's just they're not quite that tall. You know, it's tall basketball players do not necessarily make for good basketball. I think
sometimes.
No, I mean,
sometimes you get a Sean Bradley.
I mean, we're incredibly impressed with Wembanyama for a lot of reasons, but he is the exception, not the rule. You know.
Whatever. So I think Bol was incredible.
I mean, look at Chet Holmgren. Chet Holmgren's almost as
Taco Fall, just great.
You could argue that Chet Holmgren can reach as high as ceilings as Wemby potentially if he develops well, but he has to really develop. Wemby just can do it, or he's already gotten to that development point at a young age. So that's it's a different game. But
anyways, I don't want to put on like I'm watching a ton of college softball.
No, but it's good to promote watching the sports.
As a Texas fan, it's nice to see them win a national title again in something that they haven't ever. That was cool, seeing the first one. It's another, I think the number of titles we've won since joining the SEC in all the sports is looking good. People said it would be tough, but we seem to be surviving.
Yeah, it's tough with having all the money that fucking Texas has and the best conference to play in,
and no longer having to try to figure out ways to hide it, because apparently they weren't doing that well to get the right players or something. I don't know.
Well, yeah, I think that there was a fuckboy mentality with Texas for a long time. It was very lazy. It was just get the 5 stars and not actually vet the 5 stars.
Yeah. I mean, asking Robert Griffin to play tight end is probably a sign your evaluations are not correct.
Well, yeah, that was stubborn for sure. I mean, Robert Griffin was coming up at a time where you actually made a lot of sense to invest into that kind of player. Remember, we had just had Pat White.
Can you imagine? He might have been more famous than Vince Young at Texas if he had gone there.
Yeah, but he also, I think the issue with Robert Griffin is he was never going to start at Texas, even if you would have made that argument, because Colt was there already. That would have been the end of Colt's career when he gets started. So I don't think that I think that's right. I think Robert Griffin would have been 09 start, 010. Maybe it's 10.
Which would work because Colt was gone, so.
Yeah, maybe I'm misremembering, but I thought maybe 09 was
I feel like
the
11
first.
was his big year, right?
Yeah, maybe you're right. Yeah, maybe 11 was. He would have.
Whenever he got them a new stadium built.
Oh, I know. I was at Floyd Casey for most of the first 2 seasons.
Anyways. Just all that to say, Texas is good, like the tower.
And the most important thing about baseball in Texas, the Rangers may not be dead.
Oh, baseball, yes. That's where I was headed. No
the Rangers
baseball yet.
The Rangers have life.
The
Rangers have hope. The Rangers have a future.
It's looking better than it was. And
is that because it was turbo dog shit first?
If they can continue to build on what they're doing, I don't need 16 runs every night. That was cool, but just give me 5.
We need signs of life, and I think that's the first we've got it. And we're highlighting 2 players.
I was gonna say the 2 teams now with Washington and Minnesota. These are not bad teams. These are actually pretty decent teams that we're showing out against a little bit.
Wait, so Minnesota got a weird stadium because Josh
Yeah,
Smith just had a home run that didn't go, and then this guy.
Yeah, it's not a home run. It's got to get above that second wall.
So fuck Target Field, bro.
It is a
Would've never-
pitcher's park. Absolutely.
Yeah, that's some bullshit, bro. But yeah, so the the Texas Rangers are playing pretty good baseball. Pitching obviously has been fine. I mean, you can get bitchy and picky on the back end, but the offense has been so bad it's hard to.
Yeah, you can't.
So
you're not allowed to do that.
So yeah, I mean, the offense is all you can talk about. Corey Seager is still slowly coming along. Jonah Heim is basically Jonah Heim, and I think that's okay. We just know who he is at this
He's
point.
just clutch as hell.
Yeah, but he's not going to.
The numbers don't look great.
No consistency.
But when you need him,
he's there. Adoli's still not doing quite as well as we would want, but it's fine. It's salvageable. The biggest problems we were having is Marcus Semien being the worst baseball player in baseball.
And now he's up to like the bottom 20.
Okay, that's fair. He has a long way to come back.
Numbers are, but
he has a long way to come back.
It is definitely looking better, but it's going to take a long time to get into the top half again.
As we speak, Marcus has already had a big old home run in this game we've seen. So this doesn't count. That doesn't count what I'm about to tell you.
But I was very angry the game that we lost when he hit 2 home runs.
He did. He did. It was pretty fucked up. 8 games in June. Again, not counting the one that's happening as we're talking. A 407 batting average, 9 runs, 11 hits, 5 walks, and then the 2 homers you mentioned. They are all in one game and a losing effort. Gotta be pretty happy with Marcus's June. That's a pretty big deal. Marcus was hitting like 198 to start the season.
It was catastrophically bad.
And so for him to start June at the 400 mark, it's pretty cool. Pretty cool.
Yes. And I'd like to see that keep going. I don't want to say too much because it's looking good now. This is one of the benefits of the baseball season being 162 games. You can, if you're lucky enough to be in this division, you can middle around for a while and still have a shot at it.
I don't need Marcus to stay hitting 400 for the rest of the season. If he can, fuck yeah, bro. But it is a sign that, hey, it's not completely over for Marcus. We don't have to bail on the contract. We don't have to figure out how to fix this thing. Because let's be honest, Marcus being completely useless offensively really would have put us in a bad position moving forward.
You don't want that.
So, it's not just that he's a guy that could be easily replaced, you know what I mean, for a lot of reasons. So it's important for him to be playing better. But then the other guy we need to talk about is probably the happier news, I would say. The dream of Evan Carter is still alive. I mean, if you had to be honest with yourself, you felt better about Marcus turning it around than Evan Carter being a baseball player to start the season, right?
My main concern with Evan Carter is just being able to play. Not even how he's playing, it's being able to play. And then we can talk about how he's playing.
I think they're handling him well. I think he's playing pretty consistently. They're being cautious with him when they need to be. They don't have to play him every day. So
that's the big question for me with him. I think he'll always be fine. He could even be good someday.
I mean, this is the thing he's playing pretty well. 3 hits in the last 2 games. So let's see how he does tonight, obviously. But it's just nice to have that little bit of pop.
It's a weird spot because he's already won us all over. Like, no matter what happens, he could flame out tomorrow, and we're like, who cares? Thank you.
True, but if you take and just get selfish with this one season, the only reason that I would say it's more important is because, this season is just super unfortunate for Rangers fans because it's the first time we've ever seen a Rangers team have, elite, god-tier pitching, and we can't score a fucking run to save our fucking lives. And so if Evan Carter can just be a little bit better, I think Osuna statistically hasn't provided much, but I'm getting very close.
His first few games were looking good, and it's cooled off.
But here's the thing. I'm arguing Osuna might be the vibe captain that changed the season around. I'm looking at the statistical marker, and I'm noticing that happy-go-lucky Osuna being in the clubhouse might be what the doctor ordered.
I mean, it makes sense. You bring someone in who hasn't someone who reminds them. Although there is the interesting side note of apparently Brett Boone, his big thing that he's done is gotten the players to pay attention and watch the game. So maybe that's all it took. Also, just
we need to pretend like
you
the
look at
standard
what
isn't
the pitcher's
awful.
doing before you step up there, please.
Yeah, I mean, this is why we laughed at
Sometimes
the
you need some
Cowboys
shakeups.
for having their ping pong table, no ping pong table. Is it video game system? No video game system. It's a very fine line to walk with these athletes.
But yeah, I think both of those things can be true. That someone coming up who's not tight and feeling all that pressure can loosen things up, and then a coach reminding you kind of something basic that I can see how you might forget, getting lost in your own thing.
Yeah, and look, Nate
When
Lowe.
I say that they weren't watching the game, that doesn't mean they're not, watching some film, preparing, talking to a coach. But they're you're a little ahead of me. There is something to be said about watching the game at hand.
Yeah, well, I was watching the game at hand, and I get why they're not.
Who's on the mound tonight?
Jack.
Oh, well, okay.
Yeah, it's actually pretty normal Jack game.
This is what it should be at this point in his career.
Yeah.
I don't even know if he'll even be in the full rotation at the end of the year. It's hard to say.
I think Jack's
Injuries
definitely
pending,
Jack. I
Joe
think
Rocker's not going to be.
I think Bradford has a better shot at this point.
If he can come back. But
it was Buxton.
I do like him getting these reps because we do see the innings where he does really well, and it feels like he's getting chances to learn.
Yeah.
And I think this is all. I think everything about Jack Leiter this year, I'm positive about.
I just need him to keep going. Now that he's settled down and not had such a blistering hot start like he was, I just need him to get back to the 5-inning thing. Just Jack, can you give me 5 innings without blowing it up? Don't fuck my bullpen up.
The typical thing with most starters is the most difficult part is getting them through the third time through the order. And that's where your aces are aces and your bottom rotation guys give way to long relievers.
Yeah, very fair. So yeah, I mean, the Texas Rangers dream is mostly alive. We will still continue to watch.
Rangers are in 4th place in their division at 4.5 games back.
So yeah, division's crappy, but it's tight.
It's all up in the air. Anyone can grab it.
It's crappy, but we're all crappy here. Only 2 teams have a plus.
It's mid.
Only 2 teams have a plus run differential. Us and Houston.
Below it? Oh, the Mariners fell back below it.
I think the Mariners fell back below.
I'm gonna pull it back up here real quick. Yep, Mariners are 11 down. Jesus. Yeah. So that'll end our first half. In the second half,
baseball.
It's a lot less sports, I think.
Yeah, I actually put up my music hat. So
This is past